Good morning to those of you who are here in the United States, and good evening to our overseas participants. Thank you for joining our College of Graduate Studies webinar today. Our topic is Know Your Support Team, Who Does What in the College of Graduate Studies. Our panelists today will be Dr. Mark Delarco, who is the Dean of the College of Graduate Studies, Dr. Amy Lizenring, Associate Dean of Inclusive Student Success and today's moderator, Dr. Jeffrey Honda, Associate Dean of Graduate Programs, and Tricia Ryan, the Director of Graduate Admissions and Program Evaluations, often referred to, and you'll hear it often, as GAPE, G-A-P-E. This webinar is being recorded and will be closed captioned. We have turned off your chat feature. You are welcome to post any questions you have for our moderator or panelists in the Q&A section available at the bottom of your webinar screen. My name is Cheryl Cowan, and I'm an associate with the College of Graduate Studies. My colleague, Julia Dunn, is an enrollment specialist at the College of Graduate Studies, and together we will pose your questions out loud for a response. This will allow our closed captioner to transcribe your questions. We request that you hold off asking questions until the end of our panel discussion, which is very short today, since many of your questions might be answered during the presentation. And on a separate note, we want to acknowledge that many of you personally, or your families, or your friends are being impacted by our current California fires. Our hearts are heavy, as we here today also have been impacted. Please make sure and read the Provost Del Casino's recent email for support services. I am now going to stop sharing my screen and we can meet our panelists.
Good morning, everyone. It's really great to be here talking to all of you all today. I wish it was in different circumstances so that I could see you all. And for those of you that haven't been on our beautiful campus, I have actually put in my background something that's pretty much a landmark feature, and it's the statue of the protesters at the Olympics. So this is a view that I get to see every day when I go to campus. And so just a little piece of our campus for you. So the purpose of this panel today is to give you all a chance to get to know the CGS, the College of Graduate Studies team. We're all gonna talk just a little bit about ourselves, what we do, and then, as Cheryl had mentioned, open it up for questions. And I hope that you've all had a chance to see the videos that we've made that gives a little bit more information specifically about our roles and some information about our college. And if you haven't gotten a chance to do that, they are in the Canvas shell for the course. So I am going to start by having each of our panelists introduce themselves and say who they are and give a little bit of personal background about themselves. So Mark, would you like to start?
Thank you, Amy. Hello, everybody. My name is Mark Delarco. I am the Dean of the College of Graduate Studies. And let's see, a little bit about myself personally. I was born in Lisbon, Portugal. But my family moved to the United States when I was very young, about 6 months old. And I've lived in many different places in the United States, but mostly on the East Coast, although I was in Nebraska for a while. I am married. My wife is a software engineer here in the Silicon Valley at a medium-sized startup company. And I have 2 kids, an 11-year-old daughter and a son who is turning 9 tomorrow. I guess I'll say a little bit about my professional background. I'm trained as a chemist. I went to Bridgewater State College for my undergraduate degree, which is a state college in Massachusetts. I went to the University of Illinois for my PhD, and then I did some postdoctoral research at Harvard University before taking a faculty position at Tufts University just outside of Boston, where I spent quite a number of years before moving to San Jose State in 2007. I have spent most of my career teaching and doing research in medicinal chemistry, which basically means developing new approaches to create medicines for cancer and diabetes.
Thank you, Mark. Jeff, would you like to go?
Sure. Hello, everybody. My name is Jeff Honda. I'm the Associate Dean for Graduate Programs in the College of Graduate Studies. As far as a little bit of background about myself, I am a native San Josean, born and raised in San Jose. And it's been an interesting journey growing up with San Jose in that San Jose used to be a very small, sleepy town that had greenhouses, dairy farms, prune orchards. And so to see it evolve into the heart of Silicon Valley and growing Google and Hewlett Packard and before that Fairchild and all of these companies was very exciting, but it was also a little sad because we lost some of our rural charm, but that's progress. In any event, I went to San Jose State as an undergraduate where I earned my degree in biology. And from there, I went to the University of California at Riverside, where I earned a master's and PhD in entomology, primarily agricultural entomology. And then I went overseas and spent a year in Europe. And you can see the background here. That's Wageningen, which was one of the universities that I spent some time in. And then I went to Japan, University of Fukuoka in Japan to spend some time there. And then I came back and got a position here at San Jose State. And I've been at San Jose State now for 24 years. So it's been quite a while. I have a wife and one daughter, and I enjoy cooking and traveling. Thank you.
So I will go ahead and go. I am Dr. Amy Lizenring. I am initially from the Washington, D.C. area. I went to school in a lot of different states on my quest to get a PhD in Ohio, New Mexico, and Colorado. And actually the first time I was ever in California was when I did my job interview for my position. I've been at the university for 16 years. I started here as an assistant professor of sociology. I just recently got this job, which I'm really excited about, and I'll talk a little bit about that more in a bit. And let's see, I have 2 daughters who are 9 and 12, and I'll talk, my hobbies are actually very similar to Jeff's. I love to be in the outdoors. I like to hike. I like to travel as well. I like to read. I like to cook, and I like to eat. So that's a little bit about me. So Trisha, would you like to go?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Trisha Ryan here. I am the Director of Graduate Admissions and Program Evaluations. A little bit about myself. I was born in the Philippines and immigrated here when I was a wee little child. So have been a native, what I call a native, native to the Bay Area. Grew up in Oakland, California, also Union City, lived in San Jose for a while. And now I reside in Hayward. I've been at San Jose State since 2005. It's been a while. This is a large institution, so I've had a real good chance to learn about all the intricacies of this university. My background going into San Jose State is I do have a bachelor's degree in psychology, master's in counseling, another master's in philosophy, and now working on my EDD here at San Jose State. So not only am I directing the office that will help to support your career educational trajectory here, I'm also a graduate student. So I can sympathize with some of the juggling in life that you are about to enter, which is, I can tell you, an exciting journey. Thanks. You're muted, Amy.
I knew I was going to do that at least once. And I was saying, thank you, Trisha. Now we're going to have each of the panelists talk a little bit about their roles at the college. So Mark, would you like to start?
Sure. So my role is Dean of the college. And it's an interesting role because the college is relatively new. It's just about 2 years old. And so, and I'm the inaugural dean. So I've really had a fabulous opportunity to work with a team of folks, including people on this call, to basically try to build the new College of Graduate Studies. And when I try to assess what my role as dean really is, I think it's partly to build and partly to support. So in terms of building, as I mentioned, we want to build a college that promotes our core values for graduate education, which are excellence, integrity, equity, and service. And in terms of support, it's mostly for students, where we want to try to find a way to support and make both richer and easier the journey through graduate education for the San Jose State graduate students. But we also support faculty and staff in developing new programs and in recruiting students and things like that. We are the place to go when your local support systems don't suffice.
Thank you, Mark. Jeff?
Thank you, Amy. So as Associate Dean, Amy and I wear a lot of hats, some of it interchangeably. We do a lot of the day-to-day operations within the College of Graduate Studies. Some of the things I do is participate in and assist in developing programs such as this orientation and TA training. I interpret policies and guidelines as they relate to graduate studies. I help settle student disputes and grievances. I approve petitions and special actions for issues that may arise during your studies. So this can include things like leave of absences or course withdrawals or things of that nature. I also sit on committees that recommend and shape policies regarding student rights, and also develop criteria and standards for new academic programs. Let's see. I oversee and develop standards for thesis and graduate writing. I recommend graduate students for university and system-based scholarships. And finally, I oversee the Master's in Interdisciplinary Studies. And this is an interesting program that allows you to develop a course of study that's unique to your professional interests. So for example, if you have interests in psychology and art, or business and environmental studies, or kinesiology and counselor education, or even you want to do something with social justice and study history and sociology and government, we can design some of these unique programs for you. So that's a lot of what I help do in the college.
Thank you, Jeff. So as the other associate dean, I do a lot of what Jeff does as well, and I won't bore everyone by repeating all of those things. I'll just talk a little bit about what I was hired to do specifically. My role is also an inaugural one. It's new, to focus on inclusive student success. In that role, one of my main jobs is to review programs and ensure that we are being inclusive and that we are ensuring equity and diversity. I also have been tasked with something that I will be reaching out to a lot of you about, with helping to create a sense of community for graduate students on campus. Something that I feel like is really important in this time where we are all on virtual and online. It can be a little bit hard to connect to other people. So some of you might have some concerns about that. And I have been working on some ideas and hopefully implementing some things that will alleviate that. I also help to ensure that graduate students have a voice on campus. So one of the things that I will be doing this fall is advising our Graduate Student Advisory Council. It's a relatively new council, and it was a little bit more informal in the past. But now I'm moving forward to ensure that there are members of the council from every college on campus, and that's something that you might have interest in doing in the future. You could always contact me about that. I am working on a project with Mark actually right now, where we're looking at data just to make sure that all of our programs are equitable in terms of admissions and also in terms of graduation rates and retention rates. So those are the main things that I work on. Tricia?
Okay, so as director for the Graduate Admissions and Program Evaluations Office, you as a newly admitted student had already interfaced with my office. We do take care of Cal State Apply, folks applying to our programs, and support our students through advancement to candidacy, which is a petition that you as a graduate student would likely start filling out about a year from now. We also take care of graduation petitions. We do the evaluation for graduation and your final requirements. We award degrees as well. I do have a staff of 14 that take care of a lot of these support services. And you heard earlier that Jeff Honda interprets policy. We take that interpretation and we help to implement and uphold that policy, all policies regarding admissions through graduation. Besides having a staff of 14, you as new students are joining a very large cohort of graduate students for the fall. We have close to 8,000 enrolled for fall 2020. So it is a large operation, and we are here and ready to support all of you.
Thank you, Tricia. So now all of the panelists are going to talk about what is their favorite part of the job, or what inspires them, or what they really like about their position. Mark?
Thank you, Amy. Yeah, I was thinking about what I might say in answer to this, and I want to describe what I would call the amplification effect. And this actually struck me first early in my career. I wanted to be able to work in helping people who were sick. And I considered the possibility of being a doctor, and I considered going to medical school. And at some point, I realized that by working on developing new medicines, if I were successful, I could have a much broader impact and really help a lot of people. And a similar thing has happened with regard to my role as dean. I used to really enjoy working in the laboratory and in the classroom with with students of all kinds, but especially with graduate students, to help facilitate their career and to propel them along in their career. And I realized at some point that by serving as Dean of the College of Graduate Studies, I could amplify that effect and really contribute to helping, as Tricia said, the more than 8,000 graduate students at San Jose State in their careers. So I would say the most exciting thing about my job is the opportunity to really have such a broad impact on so many people.
Thank you, Mark. Jeff?
Thanks, Mark. I'd like to piggyback on that theme a little bit, and I'll talk about that in just a second. But as I said, I came to San Jose State over 20 years ago, and I did a lot of teaching and research. And after 20 years of doing that, not that I didn't like it, but I thought it was time to move on to something else. And like Mark, I've always wanted to help and assist people. And I think that's why a lot of us become professors and teachers, to help and mentor our students. But it wasn't until I became department chair where I saw that, well, as you go into different positions, you can have a larger impact on your students. So, at the next level as a department chair, you're helping established programs. You're assisting and advising a little bit further. You're working across not only the college, but the university, and your impact increases. And so I found when this opportunity to be part of the College of Graduate Studies arose, I was very excited about this opportunity because I believed it would allow me to help a greater population. But not only that, we have so many graduate students, I believe 8,000, which is one of the largest populations in the CSU. And the graduate college was brand new. And I saw it as an opportunity to advocate for our students, our graduate students, effectively. And so that really got me interested, and that's why I'm in this position.
Thank you, Jeff. So it's my turn. So I had talked a little bit about the fact that my background is in sociology, and my initial research was in the area of gender studies. I actually have a certificate in women's studies along with my degree in sociology. And my focus has always been on looking at the intersections of gender, race, and class inequalities. And that's what I taught before when I was a professor. And soon my research kind of took a different direction. I was studying about domestic violence, actually. And I started focusing on the experiences of students, actually at San Jose State, from marginalized populations. So students who had to work a lot to go to fund their own education and what their experiences were like. I've also done some research on students from underrepresented racial minority groups in the College of Social Sciences and what the definitions of success meant to them. So I started really becoming interested in student success. Then I had the opportunity to direct our undergraduate Student Success and Advising Center in the College of Social Sciences, and I did that for about 3 or 4 years. That role was exciting, but it was a lot of administration work, basically making sure that the office was kind of running smoothly. And I didn't feel always that I was able to be doing the kind of work that was really, really meaningful. Obviously, advising is important, but as I initially was a researcher and a teacher, I kind of missed that piece of it. So this was when the opportunity to apply for this job came up. It really is kind of a dream job for me, because there is this focus on the issues that I care most about, of making sure that we are treating all students equally, making sure that we're committed to programs that help support students from marginalized groups. That's actually why I chose this background, and I realized that I should have said a little bit more about the statutes for those of you who aren't aware. So the two people represented in the statute are John Carlos and Tommy Smith, and they were alumni of San Jose State and were in the 1968 Olympics for track. And they decided to give the Black Power salute while they were on the medal stand to protest racial injustice in the United States and around the world. San Jose State has a history of activism and a focus on social justice. It's an extremely diverse campus, student body. I've just loved working with the students there, and so I'm just so excited to be able to be a part of a team where we're focusing on those issues. It's very important, obviously, in this historical moment in this country, and it's something that means a lot to me. So that's what I'm really excited about in this position. Trisha?
Okay, thank you. It's humbling to hear all of the different perspectives and interpretations about our passions regarding graduate education. To me, graduate education is precious. I've been working in the field since 2003 now. It's precious because it's an arena where one can exercise their intellect. It's an arena where you can exercise that spark that only you know about that propelled you to apply for graduate school. That's special. And it's something you do on your own and quite independently. And it forces you to interface with a world of experts. It gives you the opportunity to cultivate your own expertise. And especially for marginalized peoples, it really propels one to cultivate their own voice in the world. I think that is profoundly integral, especially in a world that is very, very difficult to untangle. I love San Jose State because of the cultural diversity. I hope you can appreciate that, and even through some of the online formats and pedagogy that you'll be experiencing this semester. And I have as well during the summer. I had to take my courses online for my doctorate program, and still was able to have really rich conversations with my fellow graduate students. So I hope you can also find that in your experience as a student, your first semester, that this is a place where you can grow more and find out more about your own opportunity to contribute to this society that we have. So that's why I'm passionate. The other part is that I am passionate about the growth of my staff in my own department. You know, policies, circumstances are ever changing. And so it's important for me to help to build a resilient staff that can support our graduate students. And resiliency in terms of their own reflective capabilities of how they can provide their own talents in supporting you. Thanks.
Thanks, Trisha. So that's a little bit about us, both personally and professionally. And now we are more than happy to answer any questions that you all might have.
Hi everyone, this is Julia Dunn from the College of Graduate Studies. I'd like to once again thank our presenters for their time today. As Amy mentioned, we're now moving into the question and answer portion of our webinar. Attendees, if you do have questions, please type them in the Q&A area and I will read them aloud for our presenters to answer. We ask that you use the Q&A area rather than raising your hand. But just to get us started, Mark, you mentioned that the College of Graduate Studies is about 2 years old, so relatively new. Could you maybe talk a little bit about why the College of Graduate Studies was formed and what the importance is of having a college entirely dedicated to graduate students?
Sure, thank you, Julia. Yeah, that's a great question. I think we have to first credit President Papazian for having the vision to launch the first College of Graduate Studies in the CSU system. She saw that we have the largest graduate population of any of the 23 California State University campuses with, as we've mentioned a couple of times, over 8,000 graduate students. And those students deserve a unit whose job it is to support them. And so the first and foremost reason for the College of Graduate Studies is to support all of our graduate students. But in addition to that, the university is evolving and growing. And we are strengthening our overall research, scholarship, and creative activity. So we have always been strong in research. We, I believe, have the second highest level of extramural funding of any of the CSU campuses, and we have some really outstanding scholars on our faculty. But when we want to grow our research enterprise, graduate students are front and center because graduate students are integrally related and involved in research and creative activities on our campus. So that's the second reason. And the third reason, I think, is that we wanted to grow some of our programs to serve a broader swath of our community. So for example, we're expanding our doctoral offerings. You know from Trisha's comments that we have an EDD program, but we also have a Doctor of Nursing practice that just started independently here. We are developing we're starting a Doctor of Audiology program this fall, and we're developing a Doctor of Occupational Therapy program in the near future. And we are having some preliminary conversations about the possibility of having a few joint PhD programs with some University of California campuses. So the third reason for the College of Graduate Studies is to really work on expanding our graduate offerings to better serve our community.
Thanks, Mark. We have a student that is wondering how many graduate programs we have here at San Jose State.
Trisha, do you want to take that one?
Sure. We have roughly 120 graduate program offerings. It is going up. It might very well be 125. And it's a mix of advanced certificates, credential programs, master's programs, and less than a handful of doctorate programs. And that doctoral offering is expanding as Dr. DeLarco has mentioned.
We also have a student wondering which department has the most graduate students, if you know.
Mark?
Yes, that's the iSchool, which has a Master's of Library and Information Science program, which is an all online program. And that is our largest graduate program by a fair amount. The second largest is the Master's in Software Engineering.
Thank you. What are some ways that graduate students can meet other graduate students on campus outside of their department?
I'll go ahead and take that. So obviously it's a little bit challenging virtually. Our campus is, if we were there in person, and hopefully you all will get a chance to be there in person, our campus is, for the size of how many students that we have, which I think now is about 35,000, it's actually a pretty small campus. And there are some central areas where students hang out, like our student union, which is just this way from the statues. But there's also a lot of different organizations that students can join. Most of the graduate students so far have joined professional organizations that are related to their field. So you can inquire about that in your department. One of my jobs is currently to try to find ways to build community for graduate students and for them to actually meet each other outside of their cohorts. So you can expect to be receiving some communication from me about some programs that we have. We are actually, I can't remember the day. Because we haven't scheduled it yet. This is a work in progress. We are going to have a kind of fun meet and greet for all the new incoming graduate students, where we'll have little chat breakout rooms, so and students will be able to talk to each other, get to know each other. I'm actually working on planning that with Cheryl and Julia, so look forward to messaging about that. Most of our orientation modules have been, informative, not necessarily fun, and ways to meet people. So we'll be working on that. And then I'm working on ways to continue to have programming like that throughout the semester and the year if we continue online, but also in person. Another thing that's in the works that I was just talking to someone yesterday there is a Chicanx and Latino Latinx Center on campus. I was talking with the director of that. There's some graduate students who are interested in forming a group, an association. That's in the works. So there might be ways of students from different racial, ethnicity, identity groups to meet up with one another. So right now things are more in the planning process than anything else. Obviously this is kind of unprecedented for us to be to be doing this online, but you can always feel free to contact me if you have any ideas. And lastly, I should plug the event calendar for the university. If you go to, I think the main page for the university, there's all types of virtual events. There's speaker series, things like that. So just keep your eyes open. I was going to say your ears open, your eyes open, and there'll be some more information about opportunities.
Thank you, Amy. A student is asking, how can I look for TA or RA opportunities, teaching associates, research associates?
Jeff, you want to take that one?
Well, I think right now the best way to look for these types of opportunities is to contact your department chair, and find out what types of teaching opportunities are available.
And if I can just add on the research side, so the difference is, as Jeff said, teaching opportunities, TA positions, are managed by the chairs of each department, because the chairs are the ones who deliver the courses in each department. They organize the delivery of the courses. The research assistant positions tend to be established by the faculty themselves. They're typically based on the availability of extramural funding. So for example, when I was in a chemistry lab, if I had let's say a National Institutes of Health grant to work on a project, often in that grant, I would have funding to be able to hire a graduate student or two as a research assistant. And so the best way to identify whether there are RA positions available is to actually talk to the faculty members with whom you're thinking about working, and just ask the question of whether they have funding for RA positions.
Thanks, Mark and Jeff. One student is asking, how were graduate programs handled prior to the foundation of the College of Graduate Studies? Were they independently administered by the individual departments?
Mark, do you want to talk about that?
Sure, yeah. Yes and no. So for example, the GAPE unit, which Tricia is the director of, existed prior to the College of Graduate Studies existence. So GAPE has kept graduate programs in good hands for quite a long time. So it wasn't that the programs had no support whatsoever, but by and large, it was, as the questioner asked, primarily organized at the department level. And one of the things that we want to do in the college is to get economies of scale, basically to try to find ways that we can support programs across the university and therefore benefit the graduate students much more.
Thanks, Mark. What kinds of other virtual services will the College of Graduate Studies be offering this fall to assist students in their studies?
I could talk about our graduation workshops that we're offering this fall. We offer them every semester. So if you don't get a chance to attend one this term, no worries. We are offering them each semester, but we are offering 2 virtual graduation workshops. These sessions focus on learning what the university policies are surrounding advancement to candidacy and graduation. One of the workshops is occurring September 15th from 5 to 6 p.m. and then another September 18th from 2:30 to 3:30. All students will be receiving some kind of messaging about these events in their MySJSU messaging center. So look out for that. We also have this information on our sjsu.edu/GAPE website, so you can find that information there as well.
Jeff, do you want to talk a little bit about writing support for graduate students?
Well, right now we're really in the planning stages on how we are going to develop some writing supports for our students. Obviously, you can go to the Writing Center for help in some of your projects and things of that nature. But I also wanted to go back a little bit and talk about virtual things that students should be looking for, and one of them is our scholarship for the pre-doctoral program. So we will be having workshops on that I would encourage students to think about, and we'll have more information on that. Other than that, as far as other writing supports, yeah, we're still in the process of developing those right now.
And I should just add that hopefully everyone has had a chance to watch all of the videos and look at the materials in the Canvas course. There are a lot of, there's a lot of information there about different resources on campus, including library videos, if you need to reach out to the counseling center, how to do that. So hopefully once you have kind of finished all of the modules there, you'll have a really good sense of how to reach out to different entities on campus for support if you need to.
Thanks, Amy. If a student is having a problem, how do they know when they should reach out to somebody in their department versus somebody in the College of Graduate Studies?
I'll go ahead and take a stab at that, and then anyone can jump in. So probably it depends on what type of problem, but probably the best thing to do first is to talk to your graduate advisor in your program. If you don't feel like there's a resolution there, you can also then talk to the chair of your department. And if you don't feel like there's resolution at that level, that's when you would come and talk to one of us if it's some type of departmental problem that you're having. If it's an admission type of problem or a problem with fees, Trisha would do. Why don't you talk about what problems that
Sure.
come to see you for?
Yeah, anything that has to do with admissions, candidacy, graduation, even enrollment, fees, not so much, but certainly any information you need about your status, you can contact our office. Oftentimes students, I mean, you should listen to Amy. If there's something going on, you should go to your graduate advisor first and speak with them. The GAPE office does coordinate with graduate advisors, so sometimes advisors will contact our office and get an answer for you. So it just really depends on what the issue might be.
I guess for fees, it would be to the bursar's office if there's some
That's
type
right.
of question.
Mm-hmm.
I would just like to add generally, if you feel you have any questions, we're just an email away, and you know, we might not have all the answers, but we can certainly get back to you and provide you the information to help best address, you know, the issue that you may be having at this point.
And that email is graduate-studies@sjsu.edu. That's the best way to contact us.
Thank you, Mark.
One of our students would like to know, are we going to have any job fairs for the departments this year?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Jeff, I saw you mute, so I'm assuming that you know the answer
Well,
to that.
you know what? I think we're going to have to go outside of our expert panel here, and I know Cheryl is in the background somewhere, and she's historically been involved with those. Cheryl, can you answer that one? I think we were having a conversation about this not too long ago.
Fortunately, I was responding to another question from a student when that question was asked. Could the question be repeated, please?
Sure.
Julia?
The student was asking if we're going to have any job fairs for the departments this year.
I think what will happen is that you should get in touch with the Career Center, because I think the Career Center handles job fairs for the university in general.
Mm-hmm.
I am not familiar with specific job fairs for departments or any job fairs that colleges independently hold. So my best advice for you is to make sure you get onto Handshake and you should have received a notice as soon as you came into the university, is to get on a Handshake and start looking at the opportunities that are there.
Yeah, I'll second that. The Career Center is a really great resource. So you might want to go and check out their webpage, and there's lots of links there to various programming that they have, and information how you could specifically even just reach out to someone in the Career Center to access the resources that they provide.
Thanks. In regards for research funding, how could someone who is undocumented be hired or funded by a faculty member? I've been informed that undocumented students are unable to receive federal funding, for example, the NIH funding.
Yeah, maybe I'll just make a comment on this. So the entire question of funding is complex because there are eligibility requirements that are associated with every kind of funding. And indeed, federal funding usually requires some level of either US citizenship or permanent residency. There are other examples as well, but it is difficult for undocumented students. The best approach, in my opinion, is to reach out to the Financial Aid and Scholarship Office, because they understand very well all the eligibility criteria for all the different sources of funding that are available to graduate students. And there is a module in this welcome series about funding your graduate education. And there's actually a video by the director of the Financial Aid and Scholarship Office as part of that. So I would encourage you to go there as the first step. If you have further issues, by all means, do reach out to us and we might be able to connect you with other services, but that's definitely the place to start.
Thanks, Mark. In order to gain industry experience, what will be the internship opportunities students will have access to, and how will this work during COVID?
Go ahead, Jeff.
That's a tough one to answer, just because, you know, with the internships, you're having to develop a relationship with the industry who collaborates with the department. And given how the pandemic is shaping up right now, securing some of those internships may be kind of difficult. I think it's very important to start talking and having discussions with your department and maybe a possible company to see how you can work an internship opportunity, you know, to make it available.
I will say one thing. I have been surprised to hear that there are a number of companies that have been hiring interns virtually. So I'm gratified to hear that. It sounds like one of the unexpected outcomes of the COVID pandemic is that a lot of companies are learning how to work remotely. And as you know, so their regular employees are working remotely. And so as a part of that, some companies are also including interns in their remote work. So I think there is the possibility of doing that. It's a matter, as Jeff said, of connecting with the industries. And we do have a number of programs that allow folks to do that. And also there's an opportunity, again, to talk with the Career Center, who also has a number of connections with industry about internships.
On the same train of thought of the COVID pandemic, someone's asking, what is the line of sight for next semester? Will it be online or on campus?
Mark?
Well, so there is no decision made as of today, as far as I'm aware. So we don't know the answer for sure. So everything I'm going to say is in the realm of speculation, but I think that we can reasonably speculate that the spring is likely to have a lot of online learning. I don't think, this is just my speculation, but I don't think that the pandemic is going to resolve itself sufficiently to allow us to go back to what we're calling stage 4, which is basically normal operations. It may happen that stage 4 will come sometime in the middle of the spring semester, but I would be extremely surprised personally if it happened at the beginning. But I want to reemphasize that a decision has not been made yet for the spring semester.
And I think this is a good time just to add to that. San Jose State was unique amongst many universities across the United States, really the whole CSU system, in deciding in May that we were going to go online this fall. And some people felt that it was too early of a decision to make, but it allowed us as a campus to really spend the summer doing a lot of things to prepare to make this to be the best possible experience. So some of those things are that faculty took training, they took a course in how to actually teach online. Some of them already had experience doing that, but this course facilitated a lot more in-depth learning. There's been regular meetings of lots of different committees on some of the things that we've already talked about, how to create a sense of belonging for students on campus during this time. And as you might see if you pay attention to the news, which is very sad, so not very heartening lately, so you might not, but you'll see that there were a lot of universities around the country that planned on an in-person opening and are now having to revert to online within just a week or two of notice, and they weren't prepared. So I think you're really fortunate that you're at a university that had the foresight to think about this way ahead of time, and a lot of planning has been put into this. So I just wanted to put a plug in for all the work that we've been doing to try to make this to be the best experience really that it can be, because we all know that it's not an ideal situation.
Thanks, Amy and Mark. What types of events does the College of Graduate Studies normally hold each year?
Who wants to answer that? Because I'm new to the college. So maybe Mark, do you want to talk about, or Jeff, you unmute?
Yeah, well, I'll start the conversation, but we do have Grad Slam, and that was Dean DeLarco's brainchild. So Mark, maybe you can talk a little bit about Grad Slam, but we have a student research competition that's held every year, typically in the spring semester. So there's the university competition, and then there's the CSU wide competition that's held. Those are two big ones. Mark, did you want to talk about Grad Bash just a little bit?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for giving me credit for it, but unfortunately I don't deserve it. Grad Slam was developed by others, but I wish I could take credit for it because it's an absolutely wonderful program. What it is it's a 3-minute thesis competition. And so what a student does is they basically present the content of their thesis research in a 3-minute presentation, and it's a competition with prizes, sometimes substantial prizes. So it's both really fun in terms of hearing some of the breadth of stuff that's happening on the campus in an efficient and rapid fire way. And it's also really beneficial for the students in that they learn how to distill sometimes very complicated research into very pithy oral presentations. And I think it's a great opportunity to just celebrate what we do as graduate students. And I love that event. So that's something to look forward to. How it's going to run this year, we have yet to determine, but we'll run it somehow. So look forward to that. In addition to that, we have a few other events. One that I want to mention particularly is we have a networking event where grad students usually hear a panel discuss how networking has influenced their career paths, and then we get together and network. Now, again, this is in the past has been done in person, and I think the last event we held was right before the shelter in place. So we'll see how it goes this year. But even if it's a virtual event, I think it can really be valuable. I think, we have a tendency to, I think naturally to be sorry that we can't all be together in person. Of course, we would like to be able to do that. But I don't think that we should discount the value of communication through this kind of a modality, particularly if it's not quite a webinar, but more of a two-way conversation, as would be the case in a networking conversation. And it's actually a really good educational tool for all of us for how to interact in the post-COVID environment. I mean, some companies have said they're not going to have offices again. They're going to do everything remotely. So in some ways, we're gearing up and tooling up for what the new reality is going to be in the future of work. So let's not discount the value of some of these virtual events. I really think that you should consider participating, even though, of course, we'd love to be in person and at least get to eat some of the hors d'oeuvres.
Can you ensure some courses are hybrid or in person so that people outside of the United States can be granted F1 visas?
Mark, do you want to answer that one?
Well, so the rules about what can be done for a person outside of the United States changes from time to time. And so I don't want to be in the business of predicting what the future is going to hold in terms of federal requirements by the SEVP. But it is the case in the fall of 2020 that we have basically a hybrid campus. We have some coursework happening in person. It is a relatively small fraction of the total, somewhere between 5 and 10% of all coursework, but it is things that can't really be done remotely well, like some kinds of advanced laboratories and things like that. I fully expect that if my prediction comes true and we're largely online in the spring, that it will still be in a hybrid format, that we will have, similar to the fall, a robust offering of in-person classes or hybrid classes that are in areas that cannot be done remotely well. Another example besides a laboratory would be, for example, a dance class. That does not work very well virtually.
What type of research is being done by SJSU related to the COVID pandemic, if any?
Let me take a crack at that. So I was astonished and delighted to see how much research is actually being done by SJSU faculty and students about the COVID pandemic and how it cuts across all disciplines. So it's everything from, the medical aspects and the biological aspects to things like the sociological aspects or the educational aspects. And there was actually a series of flash talks, we call them tapas talks, about 3 weeks ago or so, in which people on the campus who are doing COVID-19 related research presented 5-minute presentations. And I believe that has been recorded. I'm not certain where the recording resides, but I would start by looking at the Division of Research and Innovation website. I suspect that there would be information there, or you can reach out to those folks to find out where the recording is. But it's a fascinating array of projects that have been done. And I'm just so proud of the faculty for pivoting so quickly to address this international need.
Thanks, Mark. So we're coming to the close of our webinar. We have a couple of minutes left. Cheryl and I would like to thank our panelists and our guests. We wonder if each panelist could give us one thing that makes them smile about SJSU before we end our session.
I'll go. One thing that makes me smile is thinking about the amazing relationships that I've built at this university in the 16 years that I've been here, both with students, staff, and faculty. Some of my best friends are at the university. I've just gotten a really amazing chance to meet so many wonderful people. There are great people at this university everywhere that you look, and I'm really fortunate to be a part of it. And it makes me smile.
I would second that, but I think the thing that also makes me smile is the quality of not only our academic programs and what we offer our students, but the quality of research that comes out of our university. I think it's top notch. I think we're underrated. And I think we do a fantastic job in both areas. So that makes me smile.
I can go next. What makes me smile about San Jose State University is its resiliency and community, its ability to keep us together during really tough times and come together and be there for our students. I really appreciate that. And having our safety in mind first and our well-being, and as well as the academic rigor.
And I'll say, there's two things actually. One of them is to have the privilege to work with this wonderful group of people. That makes me smile every day. But the other thing is, I really enjoy talking with graduate students. And I was talking earlier about the networking event. One of my favorite things about the networking event is just talking to folks one-on-one or, you know, in small groups, and just hearing the stories that graduate students have. And that makes me smile every day.
So I'll wrap up by just thanking you all for taking time out of your morning to be here. We're really excited to welcome you to the university. If you have any additional questions that haven't been answered, feel free to reach out to any of us. I hope your semester is off to a smooth start. So thank you to Cheryl and Julia for doing the behind the scenes work, and thanks to the panelists. And I hope that you all stay safe and have a good rest of your day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.